Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Clap Your Hands podcast presented by Coors Light. Jack Fritz, Eliot Shorr-Parks, James Jackson, all hanging out here as the offseason's, I guess, kind of percolating. Eliot, how you doing, pal?
First of all, it's been a while.
Dude, I know.
Good to finally talk about the team we care about the most.
Yeah,
Excited to get into it.
Yeah. Well, listen, it was such an emotional end to the season.
It was.
We had to take a couple weeks off.
It was. And I do think, I think that what has become clear based off how the season ended, Maxey really did save the offseason when he hit that shot.
Oh my God.
In Game 5. Had they lost Game 5, I think you would almost be unable to bring the Sixers up on the air. People would be so mad. But now, I think people are mad, but there is a real sense of hope, I think, too, with all these moves, and we'll get into them.
Yeah. But isn't it so funny how I just we do this as sports fans and I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
But speaking of Game 5, it did happen where Embiid was pretty brutal. And
yeah, of course.
We just say, oh, they won, so everything's fine. It's like, dude,
he did the exact thing you did not want to say.
They were a miracle run away from legitimate. You got to trade Embiid.
Yeah.
And because he hit the shot and because he scored 39 in Game 6, even though 37 of them were the first three quarters.
And it's a loss, yeah.
and it was a loss. It has completely kind of changed everything to being well, it's okay.
So one takeaway I've had from watching the rest of the playoffs since the Sixers were eliminated is it's so frustrating watching other teams' best players have special runs. Anthony Edwards is probably not going to make the finals, but the Timberwolves went to Denver. Granted, not a great team, but they went to Denver.
They are a great team.
And beat the Nuggets on a Game 7 on their own floor. I've never gotten that moment as a Sixers fan.
Well, and besides 2001.
Yeah, okay, right.
But
that was also not Game 7 on the road for what it's worth.
Sure, but it was we've had the one miracle.
Yeah, we've had the one miracle run. Luka is having his special run.
Uh-huh.
The Celtics are dominating. I mean, TJ McConnell was having a bit of a run. It does suck Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. But I was also, every time I watch a Pacers now, I think about your future ticket.
Dude, I thought about it too. You did not find a bigger Celtics fan in Philadelphia to speak than me.
Yes, you were close to having to start a pod talking about it.
Yeah.
But it's just so frustrating watching all these other great stars now have these runs and these moments, and yet with Embiid, we're still sitting here and coming up with excuses why he hasn't had it. It sucks to watch.
Does it kind of feel like it's past his chance to do it? I mean, I know they have one last kind of, but at this point it'd be I guess almost Olajuwon-esque or Ewing-esque, where it's so late into their career that it's and the only reason they had really happened is because Jordan left the league for a couple of years.
Well, I do think next year is kind of the Sixers' last chance.
Well, whoever they get, right?
Yeah, but the guys they're talking about getting are all in their mid-30s.
Right. I would say it's 2 years, though. I don't think it's
I don't know. I think
if it's Jimmy Butler, it might be 1 year.
Yeah, if it's Jimmy or if it's LeBron or, Paul George, we could debate a little. I think he has more second-year potential than those first two. But that's what sucks about watching the Sixers compared to these other teams. And it feels like these other teams' windows are opening. The Timberwolves' window is opening. Luka's window is wide open. The Celtics' window is wide open. It feels like the Sixers are holding on for dear life under the window, praying it doesn't collapse on them.
Yeah, they're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, and it's tough to watch the playoffs watching these guys have these moments that I so badly want Embiid to have, and he hasn't. And it's starting to feel like he might never have them.
But what about Maxey? I mean, Maxey.
But to me, Maxey's a different window.
Sure, but he did have his first real moments.
And that's why it was so exciting and so encouraging. It just shows that how little we've had to hang on to, that Luka's literally about to carry his team to the finals. And I know he has Kyrie.
He's not carrying.
He's got Kyrie, but
I'm glad. Dude, Kyrie's phenomenal.
So I think there's an argument that when Kyrie is playing the best version of basketball he can play, there might not be a handful of players in the history of the NBA better than
I think
when he's at his more talented.
When he's at his best, I'm saying, yeah.
I think he might be the most skilled player.
Yeah. I agree.
You agree that they're the best backcourt of all time when they're at their best?
Well, it's so funny. It's now that's
it.
But all year it was Luka doesn't basketball.
I mean, when they first got together, everyone was like, "This will never work." Now, as they're going to the finals, it's they're the best.
What always happens? It's like everyone thinks about regular season basketball, and then the second the postseason hits, everyone remembers, oh, you need closers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's what makes them maybe the best, because they're the best closing backcourt of all time.
Well, Kyrie might be the best, not closer of all time.
Closing guard.
Jordan and Kobe. But in terms of, if you're saying to me, someone has to make a shot in the final 10 seconds of a must-win game, and your life depends on it, there is not many people you're taking ahead
before
of Kyrie.
Kyrie. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Dude, I didn't know he's 14-0 in elimination games until yesterday.
Yeah,
it's wild.
14-1. I mean, it's
Jordan Hill?
Yeah. If he could just care all the time, he would be like a top 10 player. I mean, if he wins the title this year and has a big moment again, he's not top 10, but he is inching his way into like top 25. I mean, he hit a game-winning shot against a dynasty on the road to win the finals before. He could win it again this year. I think the Celtics are going to win it, but the Mavs certainly have a chance. Yeah?
Celtics are frauds, man. I
mean, they've played nobody, which is fair. But
Yeah. Hold on, and we'll get into all the Sixer stuff. I had to listen to you spout your nonsense.
I know.
Yeah,
you
talk
texted
about
me.
it.
About the Nuggets last year, who they haven't played anyone. Blah 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 blah. Where are you at with the Celtics?
Well, do you see me hyping the Celtics up?
Well, no. I just want to know: is this a Mickey Mouse run?
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
Yeah, and
is this going to be a meaningful title if the Celtics win it?
Now, if they beat the Mavs, I think it is more meaningful than the Nuggets title. And also, let's be honest, it's the Celtics. It just matters more. It just does. Like
So you're a Northeast elite.
No, Boston is one of the historic franchises in the history of the NBA.
Oh, you've always been one for historic things when it comes to sports.
Yeah, I have always been. But no, I agree. Their pass so far is not.
It's been embarrassing.
I agree. They beat who was the first round? It was the Heat without Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Essentially, they beat the Pacers without Halliburton.
Yeah.
And then their middle round
Knicks.
and the Knicks, who were basically broken.
They had no one left.
Yeah, they had no one left. Yeah.
And it's not like the Pacers have blown this series. You can make the argument they should be up 3-1.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Well, same with the Timberwolves. Even though it's 3-1 now, those games were also very close. Like it wouldn't. What would you put the odds at that the Timberwolves win the series?
Like right now,
Yeah, so it's 3-1.
10%.
I was gonna do
5%.
odds if you want to be a man about it.
Oh.
Like
a plus
plus
1,500.
Okay, I was gonna say like plus 8 or 9.
They have all.
I mean, all those games have been really close.
So what? I mean, so are the Nuggets games versus the Lakers.
But the
last year.
Timberwolves went on the road and beat the Nuggets.
Well,
like the Timberwolves have like that quality that you think they could.
I have an irrational amount of confidence in Anthony Edwards.
Me too. His numbers have not even been that good.
Yeah,
recently.
he's been kind of shaky.
Well, because what I've been watching the series with with Ant-Man. I call him Ant-Man.
I like.
I do like the nickname Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I'm an NBA Twitter
the
guy.
poster child has been circulating too.
You're a big NBA Twitter guy.
I'm a big NBA Twitter guy.
Yeah.
But like, I watch him, and this is clearly like a not ready for the moment. He's ready for the moment. Like he hasn't figured it all out yet.
Yeah,
like
right.
he can't pick his spots yet. The 3-point shot's not there.
I don't even know if
He's
it's like
22.
real to him yet. Like you look at him like in the post game and all this stuff, and like I don't even think like he still thinks like he's playing with house.
Well, that's why I think they could come back.
I know they gotta get rid of Cat. I mean, eventually they got it. Like he
kind of. I mean, he
welcome
kind of
him
was the
to
reason
LA.
they won last
can't
night.
do it.
I'd trade Embiid for him.
For who?
Here we
For
go.
Cat.
Here we go.
Stop,
Here we go.
dude.
We're not gonna
Why?
do that.
He sucks,
We're not gonna do
dude.
that. We're not gonna do that. If
I don't know, man.
Embiid
He was
frustrates you, I think
he was
Cat
he was the best player on a team that went on the road and
He-
won a Game 7 in Denver. Like
He sucks.
I don't think he sucks.
He sucks.
He doesn't suck. He's just way too soft.
I think
He just can't.
okay. I think if we were in a Sixers pod, we would say obviously Embiid is better than Karl Anthony Towns. But this Karl Anthony Towns is a loser thing. What do you think other teams say about Embiid?
Yeah, but Embiid.
Embiid puts up 50 and 10 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Carl Anthony Towns has Anthony Edwards. He has Gobert. Like
And they're in the conference finals.
they sucked before he got, but like Embiid has always been.
Karl Anthony Towns can't be the best player. But I would take my chance on a title in these next few
By the way,
years.
if you give Embiid to the Timberwolves, they're a lock to win with the whole thing.
Oh, I disagree.
They're a lock.
Wait, you think Embiid's going to be healthy all of a sudden?
Dude, Embiid and
You
Anthony
think
Edwards, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. He would be healthy.
It does matter if he's not on the court or if he no-shows in Game 5, right? So
But
while
he's-
I agree, Embiid is a better player than Karl Anthony Towns, obviously, right? Excuse me. But he's younger. He's not hurt as much.
He's like a year younger.
But his body is way younger. Like you know that his body has more tread left on the tires.
He's a wing. He's really a wing in a 7-foot body.
What's Embiid do?
Embiid has
He
the
gets
most.
in the paint somewhat, but like his game really changed over the last years where he became. You wouldn't trade Embiid for,
It's 16 to 17 feet instead of 22 feet.
but you wouldn't trade him for like Karl Anthony Towns and 3 first-round picks.
well, that's different.
Well, not really.
Well, not 3 first-round picks. First of all, I don't think they have those. Picks.
Well, I'm just making something up.
Well, listen, we're all about facts on this
Yeah,
podcast. We are straight up
Look,
facts
again,
only podcast.
I agree with the concern.
You would
about
hate
current-
Cat. I'm just letting you know. You would hate Cat.
I don't know.
I think so too.
You would hate Cat.
I maybe, but
he's just Tobias.
he's better than Tobias.
Of course, he's better than Tobias.
Here's the thing I'll say about Tobias that's been in my head a lot recently.
Really?
Yeah.
What has been? You've had something
Yeah.
thought about
Please
Tobias?
don't
Yeah.
think about
When
Tobias
he
anymore.
walked off the court, Game 6, that's when I stopped thinking about it. Except, there's been a lot of Castellanos Tobias Harris comps, and I feel that.
But don't worry, it's the Phillies, so no one will rip them.
Yeah,
but
you're welcome.
Yeah, accountability for all the teams except the Phillies. But the thing about Tobias is, if they can get a player that actually played to the averages that Tobias had for them, like that would be good enough. The issue with Tobias is he averaged like what he averaged this year, probably 17 points a game, something like that. But then in the playoffs, he averages like 6 points. So if they can just find a third guy that averages 18 points, that actually gave them 18 points in the playoffs, frankly, they might still be playing.
Yeah. Well, but should we get into it? All the names out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
What? What are you smirking for?
Well, I'm really, really worried that this is going to be the most slow, painful, disappointing offseason of our lifetime. And slowly but surely, one by one, they're going to drop off. Like, we're going to sit here today and go, they can get any of these guys, and maybe they'll get one. And then it's like, oh, well, LeBron's back with the Lakers because obviously he was going to go to the Lakers. Or Paul George is back with the Clippers because, of course, he was going to go. They're not going to trade Jimmy. Like, I'm a little worried that this idea that all these guys are available, I don't know how available they actually all are.
Well, here's where I'm at.
Okay.
I don't really want any of them.
So I feel that way a little bit too. Like I would do it just because it's fun and it's going to be more exciting to watch this team with any of those guys than it is not. But logically, if we remove the emotion and the fun part of it, none of these guys are great pickups. Paul George, I think, is probably the best one. But Paul George is old and you're going to have to max him out. LeBron.
And all the Clippers fans hate him. Jimmy Butler, I am terrified of acquiring. I think Jimmy, especially now that
why is that scary?
Well, because
hurt,
now it's all
old,
the picks though too,
and you're gonna have to trade a bunch of picks for him. And it came out yesterday he's gonna want a max extension. So you're talking about giving him you'll essentially trade for Jimmy at 34 years old.
Whoa, 30. I think he's 35.
Are you talking about giving any of these guys a max extension?
Well, you're gonna have to give all of them. Yeah. All of them.
Paul George scares me more.
But Paul George, you're not trading picks for as well, for what it's worth.
Longer max though.
But Jimmy Butler, you're essentially going to have him on a 4-year, $200 million deal.
Yeah, it's so Jimmy Butler was my number one. Like if I could just take the player,
right,
with not factoring in contracts, not factoring in trades, I want Jimmy Butler. But when it comes down to what it's going to take to get him, no way.
Yeah, and
no way.
Not to mention that you might also have to extend Embiid. So you're talking about giving two guys that are hurt all the time, like a combined $400 million this offseason. That's why I started the pod by saying I think if they get Jimmy Butler, like it is next year or it is donezo. If next year they are not in the conference finals or in the finals, like this is going to blow up in disastrous ways. Embiid won't want to be here. Butler will be all put out. Like my concern with these guys, to your point about not loving them, is for to have an offseason where you have the most cap space. You're the best team that has cap space. You have all these picks to trade. You have 2 stars. You would hope that there'd be better options than what there are.
Counter argument. I think it's like title or bust next year, no matter who they get, because they're going to go out and get a big star. I don't think if it's just Jimmy Butler, that means.
But I'm saying the age factors in. Like, let's say they went and they acquired Anthony Edwards.
I think it factors in because of Embiid. Like, I think
and the guy they're acquiring. The guy they're acquiring is going to be 4 or 5 years older than Embiid. So not only is it about just they'll have the talent to do it, it's that the window they are paying like $400 million for has maybe 1 or 2 years.
Well, and the reason why next year is so important, and really the way that the NBA to me has changed, is like it's never been more open to me. Like the Western Conference Finals right now is the T-Wolves and the Mavs. Like the Celtics are the Celtics, but
yeah, well the Celtics are the big roadblock.
Yeah, but they're frauds, man. I'm telling you. Like,
I don't completely disagree.
If the Sixers had a freaking pulse, they're taking down that team.
But they don't.
But Tatum is not it to me.
Tatum's fallen off. I agree with you on that.
I'm so not a Jaylen Brown guy. Past the basketball.
Right.
Like I think their biggest winner is Derek White. Like, I really do.
So that's funny.
Drew Holiday, maybe.
Drew Holiday's a winner.
Yeah.
All right. So
Horford's annoying and a winner.
Do you have the Jake Fisher article written down there? Because I have an opinion on it.
Just
okay. All right. So Jake Fisher does an awesome job. Wrote an article talking about how if you look at teams that win titles, you have to have 3 stars. I wouldn't say Drew Holiday is a 3rd star. Like as much as I am hesitant about these guys they could acquire, LeBron, Paul George, Jimmy Butler are considerably better than Drew Holiday. They're considerably better than whoever the 3rd guy on the Mavs is. Considerably better than Rudy
Gobert. Guy on the Mavs? Derek Jones?
Yeah, like Rudy Gobert would be the 3rd star in the Timberwolves, but Rudy Gobert is like a specialty player. Rudy Gobert is not impacting the game on the offensive end the same way a legit 3rd star is. So I actually think this playoff run specifically is showing you probably don't need a 3rd star.
I know.
Last playoff run too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with you.
You know, I think it's more of a duo on the Nuggets than it is
for the Pacers.
Dude, this whole idea of like you got to get a 3rd, and so can I just give a WIP take?
That's all we do.
Okay, so like this is a take I'll give on WIP.
Out here, 215-592-9494.
Daryl Morey is afraid of actually being a GM by going and trying to get one of these stars. And what I mean by that is like he's being lazy. Like I think it's lazy to just go, oh, we'll sign Paul George. Like third stars. Like that's gonna like here's what I would do. All right.
Okay.
I would sign 3 of these guys. This is a long list of guys. Okay.
Yeah, I was looking over there. It's a lot of words.
There's 3 of these players.
Okay.
Okay. Rather than like the Paul Georges of the world.
All right. I'm curious to see how much you think these players are getting, but go ahead.
Bruce Brown.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. KCP.
KCP. Tyus Jones. Luke Kennard. Gary Trent. Malik Beasley. Malik Monk. Royce O'Neal. Patrick Williams. Isaiah Hartenstein. Obi Toppin. Tarin Prince. Sadiq Bey. And Precious Achua.
So here's the problem with
Sadiq
that.
Bey, go Cats.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player. Like he has
Winner.
moments.
But here's the
And
problem.
I need a cat on this team.
You need a cat.
I need not Carl Anthony Towns.
Right. Well,
I need a real cat.
time to get a cat. Yeah.
I need a real cat.
Scared get a dog. Sixers need a cat. But I do think two problems with your list. One, I think these guys are going to get more money than you think.
Probably. Like dude, Malik Monk might get 25 a year.
Yeah. So I think the concern with giving 3 of those guys $20 million a year, let's just use that number, is there's a shot you only hit on one of them, or they're not worth. I don't think the chances of you signing 3 guys that end up being worth $25 million are slim. But the other problem is, and this is why they have to go get a star, is the Sixers' main guy might not be good enough. Like the reason other teams can build around their stars. Now the Mavs are an interesting example because one year they didn't even make the play-in, and now they might be in the finals. But Luka has had playoff moments. As much as I hate Jokic and he is a fraud, like he has won a title. Granted, it's a Mickey title, but he did win it. The
Everyone says that.
Celtics, while you might think they're frauds, they're in the conference finals almost every year.
I know because
the
he
concern
sucks.
but the concern with signing role players is the role players are not winning you important playoff games.
Right.
Like your main guy has to show up. And so when I think of how are they more likely to win a game 6 or 7 in the second round next year, I think they're more likely to do it with a Paul George, LeBron, or Jimmy than they are with those 3 guys.
Yeah, but I think you can build I still think Embiid's gonna be the best player. Like no matter what you think, he's gonna be the best player. He's gonna be there. He's like I would rather build a great team around him than get another star.
But I just don't think building around it's asking for the same exact outcome. You could sign the best role players in the world.
Guess what? We're riding this thing till the freaking wheels fall off.
Well, the issue is the wheels are off. Like the wheels are gone. There's like the smallest bit left of the what's the thing you put that on that's not the tire? Like it's in the donut. The smallest bit of donut is left on these tires. Like when I think about this Sixers team, and this is another big picture thought, 215-592-9494.
Yep.
You have to think about Embiid as a luxury at this point. Embiid is not a building block. I'm not making decisions around Embiid. I'm making decisions around Maxey and getting another guy that in a big game I think can show up. And if Embiid shows up in that game and he's the best player in the world, then great. He's the best player in the world. But I cannot go into next season and saying when it comes to game 6 or 7 of the second round, I'm counting on Embiid to be my best guy because he might not be there and he might not show up. Is there a shot he does and he's unbelievable and he drops 60 points and they win? Of course, because he's that talented. But at the end of the day, he is a luxury at this point. I'm building my team around other guys and hoping Embiid shows up as opposed to your point, him being the best player. I can't do it again. I cannot do it again.
I think a lot of people are there. But
you just said that Embiid's going to be the best player. That doesn't
he's going to. I mean,
Embiid's the best player in the world when he plays his best. But what I'm saying about the role players is I would rather, as flawed as these guys are, sign Paul George or LeBron or trade for Brandon Ingram than get those 3 guys because those 3 guys are not winning you 2 consecutive big playoff games. They might win you 1, but they're not winning you 2.
Would you rather trade for Ingram or Mikal Bridges?
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges is like I would love for them to find
Mikal Bridges could be the happy medium to what you both want. The role player that's Derek White-esque, but a guy who you can lean on.
Yeah, potentially could give you 35.
Could give you big game moments.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that type of role player that if you go and get, can be the role player that you build around and beat. If you don't go get the Paul George,
right.
Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell.
I lost a lot of money on Mikal Bridges this year, so my big take on him.
Well, it's a telling thing that he consistently underperformed. I'm guessing
No.
overs.
But the reason why is because like they made him the one.
Yeah.
If he gets back to being the
when he was like
2-3,
the 3 on the Suns, yeah,
dude,
greatest thing on the planet.
once a week he's scoring 30.
Well, and for what it's worth, the year before, he did go to the Nets and become like a guy that we were talking about as a potential legit one. Now, I do think he was putting up numbers on a losing team.
They were still like
they were in
5-6 seed though when he went.
Yeah, and I think he had, if I remember correctly,
before they blew the whole thing up.
he had a good playoffs against the
Yeah.
Sixers.
Yeah.
Like he is someone. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's young. Like he's from here. I don't know if he's from here. But
He's
he
from here.
He is from
Okay.
Great
so-
Valley.
Great Valley.
Yeah,
Look at you, Jack.
Well, it's this Trestmont.
Yeah. Is that from
That's
here?
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not.
It's not really from here, but it's kind of from
So
here.
here's a question: would you rather overpay for Mikal? So I'm talking like 4 first-round picks, or just like max out Paul George?
Max out Paul George. See, here's my problem.
I don't know, man. I think I'd trade for Mikal.
Here's my problem.
Mikal opens your window because then 2 of your 3 best players have a legit maybe 4 or 5 years left of being great.
My problem with here's where I've gotten to is I don't want Paul George at all, but I'm slowly realizing it's probably the best option.
Yeah.
Like outside of you having to give up all the picks
It
for everything else.
maximizes the window more now, which I think getting Mikal doesn't do.
No, so I get your point, but I think Mikal does very much help your window. If you put
Of course he
Mikal,
helps the window.
yeah. Well, I don't think he helps you considerably more than Paul. I think him and Paul George are similar. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean Paul George is a better scorer, but you take the 20.
But Paul George also, to your point, Clippers fans, I put a lot of stock into how fans feel about a player.
So I do in a sense, and it's not the perfect comparison, but it always reminds me of like the Chargers back-to-back times they hated Frank Reich and they hated Shane Steichen, and
That's
they
fair.
came here and they
So,
got
but-
the team to the Super Bowl.
The example I always think of is how whenever Sam Bradford joined a team, the other team was like, "Oh, thank God he's gone."
Oh, yeah.
Like I think there is a level of truth to that, and with Paul George, while I think his ceiling, like I think it's more likely Paul George averages 35 points in a playoff series than Mikal does, but I think that there is a better chance Paul George like doesn't show up.
So my only problem with like going to get Paul George versus the role players thing is then like is I just don't know if that's still the model of like you have the 3 stars and then who's around them? Like who are you getting around?
Well,
around,
I mean,
around those guys.
Do you like the Sixers role players now? Not all of them, but
Well, they have
the Kelly Oubre. Well, do you have to resign them? The Kelly
Right.
Oubres, the
As of
Nick
right now.
Batums, they have none. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there
then-
is no
But if you
roster.
go and get Paul George, I think that is the road you start to go down. Is okay. Now we have to start to probably retain some of our guys, maybe at a maybe lower cost.
Yeah, well,
'cause
you-
they like being here.
and you're allowed to go over the cap for your own
Yeah.
guys.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So if you
Yeah.
sign Paul George, are you okay with bringing back Kelly Oubre, Nico Batum?
yeah,
And
I would be fine with that.
By the way, it's Nicholas. We don't
Yeah.
we don't do Nico.
I'm sorry I did
Yeah.
that, by the way. I'm brainwashed.
Bait him. But no, I mean, my concern is just like I think again to your point about 3 stars. Like obviously Embiid's a star, but this team has to find someone else to count on in big moments. Like Maxey could be that guy, but we have our concerns about Maxey in general because of his size. Although I think overall I left the playoffs feeling way better about Maxey than I did going into the playoffs.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that matters. The Mikal thing, all right, this is the other Jake Fisher point from his article. The idea of, look, if there's no one out there, then just don't spend the money. I don't know. I think I got to spend. Like, I know it's never a good idea to, like go to a car shopping place and say, like, I'm buying a car no matter what. They kind of have to do it. Like, I can't go into next season where, like, LeBron wasn't there, Jimmy wasn't there, Paul George wasn't there, and they're doing the role player thing and they have all these picks so they don't spend all the money. Like the idea of waiting for the next disgruntled star, where I thought you were going with the Morey thing, but you went a different way. Morey can't be afraid just to take the best option.
Yeah, me too.
You
That's where I thought you were
Yeah,
going
you
to
can't
say.
just sit around and say,
And wait for something to drop.
because honestly, who's the next star that could ask out?
Maybe
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
But I think if Donovan moves, then he's gone this offseason. I don't think he goes. I think whatever team he's on next season, he's there for probably the whole
Yeah,
year.
me too. But he could ask out.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes bad
They
with
just
the
fired
Cavs,
JB. Like,
Yeah, but
there'll be changes coming.
don't they have to extend him this offseason?
And I think they already said that they would rather get something for him than lose him.
And lose him.
Well, what'd you
In free
trade
agency.
for? What'd you trade for Donovan Mitchell?
I just
Would
feel
you do
like him-
4 ones for him?
I just feel like him and Max are so redundant, but I do love Donovan Mitchell.
I
And he doesn't give
would
you
you-
anything defensively.
I know. Would you rather trade for Mikal or Donovan Mitchell?
think
I'd rather.
I think Mitchell.
I'd rather trade for Mikal.
All right, so I think Mitchell is a better player than Mikal.
He's a better
Yeah,
scorer.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the most important skill.
Nah, I like valuable players.
Yeah.
I like guys that can do it all.
Winners.
I agree that there's some redundancy between Maxey and Mitchell, but I think it's a fine redundancy to have. It's not like having
Well, it's-
Embiid and Horford or Gobert or DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. Like, I will take 2 guards in the perimeter that shoot a ton of threes, make a ton of threes, and can score a ton of points.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I'm fine with that
We're
redundancy.
seeing
they-
a team who does it right now.
Yeah.
Going to the final.
They
Not
kind of just
probably.
had that though with him and Garland. Even though Maxi's better than Garland,
But the Cavs are also just
there's the Cavs.
Yeah,
dude.
like
They're
let's
just
be
the
real.
Cavs.
Then there's not, and they don't have Embiid.
I wish that Anthony Edwards didn't seem so happy in Minnesota.
I know he's the guy.
Because I would say that's the next disgruntled star.
Would you trade Joel in 4-1s for Anthony Edwards?
Yes,
I would too.
Heartbeat. Come on.
All right, so this is another thing I've been thinking.
How many Embiid trades have you cooked up?
Dude, look, Embiid's my second favorite Sixer of all time. To me,
it's time to not be naive about it.
It feels like it's done.
Yeah.
Like I'm not happy about that, but like it feels like the moment of Embiid like going over the hill has happened.
Sure, and like I think
this could be your last chance to sell high on Embiid.
Sure, I don't get why there's such a hard pushback of Embiid. Like you're not going to get a player as good as him in a trade.
That's a tough thing about trading him.
Which is, but like there's also kind of a freeing feeling of starting over.
100. Imagine if they traded like Embiid and they got back, let's just say like Mikal and another really great player and a ton of picks. I think there would be a freshness.
There's not another really great player on the Nets.
Right. Well, I was thinking maybe you somehow get like Mikal and Mitchell. Like maybe there's a 3-team. But let's say you get 2 guys people are excited about.
Sure.
I agree with the freeness of it. Like just going into next season with Embiid feels like such a heavy burden to carry.
Well, the problem is like you and I, unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately it's probably more right. We talk to a lot of older people, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have the runway of life. That
Yeah.
You know, so we talk to Spike, we talk to Ike, you know.
Talk about the other side of the hill.
Yeah, like I don't know if they have the same runway. So they're like, we can't trade Embiid, but they can.
But this is the flaw in that, is the idea that trading Embiid.
Would you rather just wake up 5 years from now and you've won nothing, you haven't got out of the second round and he's done? Or would you like
Right. Well, but this is where I guess I disagree with people too. Like, does trading Embiid really, like, depending what you get back, do you really have a way better shot to win a title with Embiid in the next 2 years than you do with Mikal and 4 first-round picks, and then maybe you trade those for somebody else, and you have Maxey, Mikal? Like, I yelled about it yesterday on the radio. The Sixers have had a successful run over the past 10 years. My concern is that the run is over, and that's the biggest concern I have moving forward is they are holding on to a car that is broken down. And so while people might say, like older people, I need to see them win now, right?
Yep.
I'm not so sure Embiid is the win now option. Like that's maybe where we differ. It isn't about, making the team. It isn't about just like rebuilding. I'm not sure they have a chance to win unless they go get somebody that in the playoffs can be better than Embiid.
Sure. I don't know why it's such voodoo to have the idea of trading Joel. I love Joel.
Would you trade Bryce?
Well, no.
The
Phillies are in the middle, but he's in the middle of his prime, and the Phillies are in the middle of their prime.
I agree with that.
So why don't you take a deep breath over there, buddy?
I think trading Embiid almost admits failure or defeat, and that's a hard.
It does,
pill to
but
swallow.
sometimes it's better just to.
Well, and we know that your boy doesn't really care about the franchise, and all he cares about is selling tickets. So he's never trading Joel.
Yeah. Well, look, we don't have to do the Joshua Harris thing.
But you know that's true.
No, I disagree with that.
How?
You don't think Josh Harris cares about winning? He spends a ton of money. They're always title. Well, why do you think he's spending the money? For fun?
Yeah. Well, he wants to have a good basketball team.
Okay, that's what I would qualify as winning.
But that's why he's not trading Joel. Because he's cashed out.
No. The reason they're not trading Joel is because it's hard to do a Joel trade.
Of course, it's hard to do a Joel trade. But it's also he sells out the Wells Fargo every night.
Well, that didn't end the playoffs.
Well,
I'm just saying, if you're going to use tickets, they had to give tickets away to get Sixers fans in the building. So here's I just had a really good question. Okay. Do you think ownership would sign off on extending Embiid for like 2 years, $90 million or whatever the absurd number is? I think it might even be 2 years, like 110.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I do.
Would you do it?
No, I'm fine with
I wouldn't either. I agree. So there's part of me that is, it's just money, who cares? But I don't know, man. Giving Jimmy an extension and Embiid an extension feels like...
and a Maxey extension.
Yeah, but at least Maxey's like not on his last legs.
I know. I'm just saying that. Like that's potentially what, like $500 million?
Right. Between 3 players in a year and a half, only one might be good or able to walk. Like, I mean, these are 2 guys that I'd be very nervous about extending them.
What a time. What a team. Yeah. Would you take Bronny at 16 and force the Lakers to trade?
All right, so here's my Bronny take. You ready?
Yeah.
I am perfectly fine with Bronny being packaged with LeBron and using LeBron to get drafted higher. And like
It's what every father would do.
Yeah, like
life.
yeah, and this idea that like Bronny is terrible. Lots of players aren't good in college and average like 6 points, and then go to the NBA and are better players. Like he was in a bad situation. He just had a massive heart issue.
I know.
So I will take a chance on LeBron's kid being good. Much like in the draft, I would have drafted Brendan Rice because he's Jerry Rice's kid, and I think that like
Yeah, but I mean,
well, what's the difference? Like, he was a fifth round. Where did he even get drafted? Okay, so he was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
And I know it's obviously different than 16.
would you take a Michael Jordan's kid?
I don't know if he plays basketball.
Well, he's
right?
terrible.
He played at like Colorado or something like that.
You know, an underrated story is that Michael Jordan's kid dates
I know.
Scottie Pippen's
Well, they broke
ex-wife.
up.
No, I think they're back together.
I thought they were engaged.
I thought they broke up.
So as the reality TV, I guess
I was
I don't know
about to
how
say,
much you.
I think I think we should.
The last
we should
I
lead on
saw
your
that they did
expertise
break
with that.
up, but they are back together. But that's just a wild thing to think about. That Michael Jordan's kid is dating or was dating.
Well, especially because all the drama between those two.
I mean,
Yes.
Twitter told me they were engaged and like MJ was about to be the best man.
Yeah, but then they did
Yeah.
break up for a little. They did, but then I think they got back together because I saw a reunion show with him and he was on it. But regardless, by the way, the Vanderpump Rules reunion, some of the best TV I've ever seen. You have to watch it.
No,
I know you
I
won't.
will
but
never.
Man, let me tell you.
I actually just saw this Vanderpump lady on my TL for the very first time.
Oh, Lisa Vanderpump,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, for Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
It's like, oh,
Check that
that's,
out.
that's what this woman's
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah, it's a great show.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
This
it's a
is
great show.
amazing.
I think you'd like it if you gave it a shot.
Don't have time.
I know. Too much baseball to watch.
Well, yeah.
All right,
There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. All right.
There's a lot going on.
I'm curious to know what that is.
Well, no, I just like listen. Listen. You got a little walk at home, man.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm
Right.
just
Right.
Busy. you
Well,
know?
maybe he'll like it.
Yeah. Well, I don't turn him
You
into
bring
reality
him up
TV.
on reality TV.
Yeah, that sounds like a healthy way to go about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It worked out for me.
No, it really did. You have a very normal brain.
Yeah. All right. Jimmy Butler question. Do you think he gets traded?
No. Well,
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna give.
So
him
I
the
actually,
max.
so I said that too fast. I think he gets traded, and I would trade 2 firsts for him. I would
and max him
and
out.
max him out. I'm not trading the farm for Jimmy Butler. Like,
Well, 2 firsts
It's a
is
2-year max, right?
2
but
firsts
dude-
is a decent amount of the farm.
I don't know if you know this. This year's draft sucks, so it's like you're not really giving up
But
anything.
but I don't view draft picks like in the NFL. You view draft picks as you could take a player there. To me, the NBA draft picks are just trade assets.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying I'm trading 2 firsts and it's like, whoa, where are we going to draft? I'm saying like if I trade 2 firsts for Jimmy, then the next time they need to make a trade, they have considerably fewer assets. So it's not the full farm, but it's half the farm.
Yeah. Listen, like I said, I would rather have 3 of these guys.
I just
Then one
disagree
star.
with that. Like
Dude, if I need Bruce Brown.
you,
I've been asked-
Bruce Brown makes $25 million a year, something absurd. Okay,
He's a champion.
Seltzer over there.
I do need KCP too.
He is on winning teams.
Tyus Jones too.
It's just so funny to picture next year. Like you go with that role. It's Game 6, Boston,
And they get clamped.
and Embiid has 7 points. Tyus Jones, yeah, like that's the
Winners.
We're screaming Bruce Brown, make a shot,
Yep,
please.
yep.
right.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the same game parlay.
All right, here's a question for you. Game 6 at the Wells Fargo next year. They're up 3-2. They have a chance to close it out and get out the second round. Rank the players you feel most confident in winning that game, and include Embiid.
Including LeBron?
Yeah, all the potential guys. We won't include Maxey because it doesn't really matter because he's going to be here. But where would you put LeBron, PG, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, and Embiid? Like, not best players who you trust in that moment. We can put Mikal there if you want.
Would love to know. I would love to know where you put Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, I was
Who
gonna
you've
say,
watched.
Well,
Can we
in-
not do this to be?
in this
Can you just take Brandon Ingram out of this?
Yeah.
When they trade for Ingram, you guys are going to be so.
Are you crying? Are you welling up right now?
No, but you know what's funny? So I got coffee today. You ever had lavender in your coffee?
So Jill's I can't. It tastes like soap.
You really hit the ground running with this coffee.
I know, yeah. It's very good. I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah. Just,
Another funny thing about the coffee. So I went and I ordered it, and they gave me like the massive size.
that's not the mask.
No. I asked them to remake it in a smaller size.
Oh, okay.
I just like the coffee was. Have you seen how big a tall is at Starbucks?
What's that?
It's. I mean, no one's gonna be able to see this, but it's probably like the size of a huge water container. Well, yeah, people watching the video are gonna see it, but I mean, it's a huge cup.
Yep.
Like my body would be unable to handle that much caffeine.
So,
But if it was like fries or pizza, I would just take the bigger size.
number one,
I would. I think with coffee, I'm like.
I don't know why the fries and pizza made me laugh.
Yeah. Number one.
I'm down for taking free extra stuff. It's just.
Well, coffee's it is a lot of caffeine.
That's what I'm saying. And carrying around that big cup. Foolish.
On a hot summer day.
Well, it's iced coffee.
So number one is obviously he would die on the basketball court, Jimmy Butler.
So I think LeBron's number one.
He is. LeBron should be number one.
Yeah,
I agree.
But I do agree Jimmy would.
But if Jimmy's healthy and there,
yeah. So I go Jimmy, LeBron, Embiid, Paul George. I have no faith in Paul George.
Where are you putting Ingram?
I'm not putting Ingram.
Okay.
He's not in consideration.
Mikal?
But he's to me he's the third player.
Well, the point I'm making is the guy they're signing has to be like, I need him to feel like he can be the best guy. Because I don't trust him.
I'm sure he's gonna feel. I'm sure he's gonna feel like he's the best guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's gonna believe that he's the best guy.
But I don't think Mikel's gonna take a assertive role in that game in that moment. To Embiid and Maxey. Where Jimmy Butler might.
So I would go LeBron, Jimmy, Paul George, Embiid.
You've it's fallen far for you and this Embiid thing.
I'm just being honest.
That's good. That's what we're all about. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot to talk about.
I know.
Like, we're gonna have the same circular arguments.
I can't
for
wait.
This entire
literally
offseason.
every pod debating the same
exact.
And then
point.
I guess we'll do draft stuff.
Yeah. Well, we should do it. I don't know if we can do draft stuff.
Well, so here's us
picking at 16.
Here's what I was thinking of doing for draft stuff.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go on YouTube.
Great.
I was gonna watch some of the players.
No way.
I was gonna make a big board.
Wow.
What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it could work. Yeah.
I do think we should do the perfect offseason pod.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it sounds like yours is gonna be devastatingly boring. So.
No, well, not for me.
A lot of roles.
Well, when your thing is Tyus Jones, KCP.
Have you seen Malik Beasley shoot the basketball? Have you seen Luke Kennard shoot the basketball?
I like those players, but
I like the idea of signing Mikel or trading for Mikel, signing CDB and countering.
So just recreating the Nets.
Yeah. Countering
with
the Nova
Embiid and Maxey.
Right.
With the
Okay.
Nova Sixers,
Would you see the vision?
I would trade 4 1s for Mikel.
I would trade 3.
Okay. See, I'm a bad negotiator, but I think it's so silly to me that you'd be like, I'll do 3, but 4, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, you got to protect the farm. They do have 5 first. They can trade.
I don't know if you've seen the Sixers farm recently. This thing is like burned to the ground right now. Not to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back soon.
Yeah.
This is for Eliot Shorr-Parks, James Jackson, and Jack Fritz. This has been another edition of Clap Your Hands.